Frank Moley from unincorporated Johnson County. As much as I would love to discuss my massive tax increase that your reckless spending has perpetuated, I'm here for a much more personal reason. When I was here a couple months ago, I called out the closed-door meetings regarding 199th, asking for you all to follow CARNAP and get the trucks off 199th. You ignored the taxpayers as usual, and Ed even felt it necessary to add his 2 cents, going after my statement, which per his words was not normal. Well, this is the result of your indifference. You support North Point, Bezos, Buffett, not your taxpayers. My father-in-law left my house on Saturday to return home to Gardner, traveling west on 199th Street. A truck driver lost control, went into his lane, and his only option was to take emergency evasive procedures, which meant he went to the ditch. Now, Public Works will tell you that this road is safe for trucks, of course, but here is what happens. He went airborne, went through a fence, and impaled a tree. It's only by the grace of God that he survived with minor injuries. Had my mother-in-law been with him, if you look at this picture, we'd be going to a funeral because something went through the windshield, most likely a fence post. Had God not intervened, a funeral would have been, instead of celebrating my oldest heading off to college. Now I'm going to ask you once again to do something unnatural for all of you. Instead of spending money we don't have, or raising taxes yet again during an inflationary period in the beginnings of a recession, simply do what CARNAP says. Force the trucks to use the approved roads, specifically interstates and state highways. Don't table this again because you haven't brought it back up from the table. Ask the sheriff to enforce a no truck zone. In other words,
we'll turn to commission comments. Ms. O'Hara.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that my focus on the safety issues on our secondary roads was brought into very clear view this morning. We have a huge issue of the semi-truck traffic on 199th, and it's not just 199th. They're going on 207th and 191st, but mostly it's Gardner Road and 199th, but we have Edgerton Road, Moonlight Road. We desperately need to address this, and I would like the sheriff to be involved in this too with his recommendations that according to CARNAP, we can, and we actually have a duty, to prohibit interstate truck traffic on our arterial roads. It's not only danger and public safety, which is the #1 issue, but it's also financial because of the impact that these semi-trucks have on our infrastructure. And I personally, as a commissioner, I am not willing to put county tax dollars towards subsidizing these truckers when there are adequate accesses onto I-35 and our state highways. So I know that we have tabled the motion that I brought forward several weeks ago. We are not proceeding, as far as I know, with any resolution to this. I think that it needs to be put on the agenda ASAP and that we need to have the sheriff's input on this also.
Okay. Well, I would just simply make this mention. Work is ongoing involving both the cities of Edgerton and Gardner, as well as our Public Works Department. And so, you know, the tragedy that was mentioned this morning, I think we all feel compassion for that. And but there is ongoing work, and it will come before the commission when it's up ready.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I have had some communication with staff in Gardner, and I know that they are attempting to discourage that truck traffic, and I think that there's competing there's definitely competing priorities between Gardner and Edgerton, and it's incumbent upon us, the county, to ensure the safety of our constituents. That is the number one, and this can't be delayed any longer. This absolutely demands action, and we have that authority, and it's just simply, and we can ban this truck traffic now and then continue forward with our discussions amongst the county and Edgerton and Gardner, and it's also going to be including DeSoto, but we're talking about tens and tens and tens and tens of millions of dollars in infrastructure costs. And we need, and the public safety, I mean, it is just only time before someone is going to be severely injured or killed. And I don't know if any of you really understand how narrow these roads are and the drop-offs that are there into those ditches. These roads, it is irresponsible, in my opinion, for us to allow semi-truck traffic on these roads. It is irresponsible because they are totally inadequate for this type of traffic. Those are my comments.
All right, thank you. Well, I would note that several weeks ago, we did authorize public safety improvements to a section of 199th, and we had some property owners who would not be willing to accept the action, and I don't know where all that stands today, whether those agreements have been reached or not, but yes, we are in the process of making those public safety improvements.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I apologize for revisiting this, but I was wondering if we had an anticipated date for the report on the 199th effort. Is that 30 days out?
We'll ask Mr. Peating. There was a meeting, Ms. Allenbrand, can you clarify that?
I think we're about 30 days out.
I think
Yeah,
it's
I think
about
we're-
that.
yeah.
We can ask him to forward a rough time frame.
A little bit more patient.
Okay. Well, along those lines, Mr. Chairman, I know this would be undue pressure on the sheriff, but I think Commissioner O'Hara has a point about a temporary ban, or at least a restriction. I know it's a complicated traffic flow, but even if it's just temporary, to show the community that we're sincere about this and we are working on it, I think it would be something for us to do immediately.
Okay. All right, as soon as we can. Ms. Allenbrand.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to welcome Dr. Huff, the superintendent of Gardner Schools, on board. He's got some exciting new projects and things he's putting into place, and I want to welcome him. Also, I want to thank the planning staff and public safety going out with me to Gardner Lake and some incorporated area. So that was pretty exciting. So I want to thank the staff for that. And I also want to do a shout out to Aaron Otto and his team at the airport for the grant money that they received for the rail. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fast.